see, basically what we've been hearing you and been seeing you on TV7, Channel 10, TV 50, perhaps if they had news anymore, I don't even know. But it just seems as if you caught at the wrong place, wrong time, Paul. Is that a good way of assessing this?
You might say it that way. What has happened is the fact that Parks and Rec, fortunately, did get, shall we say, found out what was going on. And it's nobody's fault down there. You're looking at two people that have ran a recreational department for years.
Right.
It's almost impossible to do something like that and put out all of the rec programs that they do.
Sure.
Now, they didn't get the invoicing out. They didn't have maybe the right system in place. I don't know what that was.
Sure.
But when you don't get an invoice and you don't get an invoice and don't get it, you don't pay the bill.
Right.
I'm not going to pay it. I know your radio station was caught up in that particular thing with it.
Sure.
And Jim and I have talked about that with Bruce. But when you don't get the invoices, this is what happened. When they finally figured it out, they said, my God, the Wizards owe X number of dollars.
Right.
Which, once I got the invoices, within 5 days, we paid the bill.
Right. In its entirety.
In its entirety.
Right.
That was the first thing we did.
You and I met at a local restaurant, and you had mentioned that. It was a sizable amount, and I think it's public information, but do you want to mention?
It was $46,000, but we went back all the way to 2002 and said, whatever invoices you think we owe, give it to me now.
Right.
And we paid it, $46,000. Now, we're already finding, I've got a whole book of documentation that shows that we're probably going to get somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000 of that back.
Really?
That we very well could have been double billed.
Okay.
And problems with, and we're looking into all of that. But I wanted to wait till after the season to do all that. I mean, I've got time now to put this all together along with my attorneys.
Right.
And that's what we're looking at.
Now, being the devil's advocate, having said all that, a lot of times, if one is not invoiced, especially from a municipality, you're not going to pay it. I mean, I know even our own Dave Mance at one point, because of the problems with Jeff National back in the days, wasn't paying interest because the bank went bankrupt. They went in, whatever was pretty much stuck. But the question remains, would a businessman know over a period of time that he or she was not taxed correctly? That's just being the devil's advocate, Paul.
Yes, they should. But here's your point. At the end of the season, when all the bills are coming in, we pay them all out.
Right.
And it's a very sizable amount that it costs to run this team, as you know.
Sure.
You and I have covered all that.
Right.
And you're waiting for it, and you go, well, they'll send it to me.
Right.
Because they're always 6 months out on
the
bills. 6 months go by, you didn't get it.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of slipped your mind, and you just move on to the next season.
Not to mention, you have a seasonal business.
Absolutely. It's a May, June, July, into the first week of August.
Right.
Now, the problems come up with the fact that you have to start putting that season together very early.
Right.
And we start that. The reason this came up was the bills from 2008 to 2011 hadn't been paid. So I spoke with Mary Corver. She says, as soon as you pay those, we'll redo the contract. I said, okay. So just give me the totals.
Right.
She gave me the total. I paid the bill. Then it went, we've got these other problems.
And
suddenly things are coming up for the last 6 years before that.
What problems were they, if you don't mind?
Well, the fact that they hadn't billed us for anything.
Okay, all right.
And Parks and Rec, it's not just us. Now, we paid some bills that came to us that weren't ours.
Right.
And we know that. I mean, we paid a bill for an American Legion program that played there.
Right.
Now they've gone defunct, but they didn't have the money to pay for the baseball fields when they used it. We covered that. We've covered things such as Pop Warner events that we ran down there. Different events, a car show that went on.
Right.
We do a lot more than just baseball.
Right.
The game plan has always been with the Wizards to bring as much into the community as you can and try to at least break even.
Right.
So the community has something more to do.
It seems as if the Wizards is always part of the conversation. You got the red and black, who, by the way, had a horrible game this past Saturday. But that happens. Every now and then you go through transition. Williams isn't there anymore, so let's hope they can get their act together with the team they have. Are they in the same boat you're in because they serve alcohol? They have at least 8, 10
They don't
events
serve alcohol.
They don't serve alcohol. That was just okay.
Red and Black does not serve alcohol. What is happening is people are bringing in their own alcohol and drinking it on the site.
Right.
So they've got to be careful with that, with everything else that's going on right now.
Right.
We just discussed this for the last 90 minutes.
Right.
With obviously the mayor and Councilwoman Burns.
Right.
Which I did meet with.
You met with them today.
Yes, I did.
90 minutes with Roxanne and Jeff. Yeah.
The mayor kind of called me out like two boys in a school fight or something. So of course I went in.
Right.
I mean, viewed my points. I told them exactly what's going on and where we're at.
Right.
And the reason the Wizards are being sold, it's a lot of issues involved with it, but no animosity towards the city at all.
Yeah, now I mentioned the red and black with respect to alcohol.
Yes.
I don't want to jump off. There's a couple of issues here.
Let's
and so
cover that.
But would they have been questioned of whether or not they were paying any taxes, or did they get billed at all, or not just referring to
they
the
just
red and
want to
black?
make sure that the red and black are obviously. I know they don't do concessions.
Right.
And they don't do beer at all. So
Right.
all they're going to be paying for are their games.
Just
their
the rent
fields
of the
and stuff
field.
Like that. Yeah, which they should.
Right.
And I mean, there's a lot of issues that need to be changed down there in direction that it needs to go.
Right. Right.
But, I've never sold beer. Now, that's a major, major false statement that's out there by everyone else. The Wizards have never held a beer license at all.
Right.
We have always farmed this out to Jefferson County Fair or, remember Rusted Root?
Yes.
Yeah, for the first 3 years, we dealt with them.
Right.
Then we went on with the fair for the last 7 years to help them out. They've been the ones that held the license. They hold the insurance. They sold the beer. I was asked today, well, I saw you back there selling beer. I'm a fair board member.
Right.
I was waiting for someone else to get there, and I happened to open up the beer booth for them to help them out.
So
we
all
do get a share of
Okay.
the profits, which
Right.
they write me at the end of the year. I'm going to make that very easy for
Right.
everybody. They write me back a share, which it's my game. I'm the one that brought this program to the city and everything else.
Right.
We should share in that.
Well, and it's interesting you say that, because that's what Joe kind of insinuated, Joe Rich, when he had his concert.
Yes.
He was saying, hey, I'm bringing the show here, I'm taking the risk, as so many people have put it, and you put the risk out there on the field by having, for instance, the Wizards play on a day where you got a lot of money out there and you want to make it back, and it's raining. There goes your risk, and you're not going to make money that day. Same thing with Joe spending in excess of $300,000, maybe even $400,000 for any particular show. At that point, should he be sharing anything, including beer or anything at that point at that venue?
Anyone that puts on an event like that absolutely should be sharing in it. Now,
Okay.
Here's what happened. We'll go back to the Alan Jackson concert,
That last
which was
year.
held with Jefferson County Fair.
Right.
They were asked by Joe Rich.
Right.
He wanted $2,000. He wanted nothing to do with the beer.
Mm-hmm.
He said, all I want is $2,000. And that's exactly what he told us. Okay. So we wrote him a check for $1,000 from the Wizards because we were going to give him a share of the food.
Right.
And the fair wrote him a $1,000 check from the beer sales.
Okay.
Well, that's $2,000. That's what he asked for.
Right.
Then he realized how much money there was. I think we ended up, I don't have the exact figure, but I think it was like, I'm going to guess 9,000 came to the Wizards out of that share.
Okay.
Not 55,000 like
Right.
you said in your show the other day.
Well, no, again, we still talk about Alan Jackson or
Yes,
the
we are.
okay,
Alan
I
Jackson.
didn't even know, but
Yeah.
whatever figures I was referring to was
9,000
tragically
came to
hip.
the Wizards at help. Tragically hip, I can cover all that with you too very easily because there again was City Council stepping in and saying, you've got to give 50% to DPAO.
Okay. After expenses, after you pay
all
Eagle or
expenses.
whomever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It turned out major difference between Alan Jackson and Tragically Hip.
Right.
Alan Jackson was $3 a beer.
Right.
Okay, you got 7 for $20.
Mm-hmm.
Tragically Hip were $5 a beer.
Right.
Now that's a 40% increase in the cost right there.
Sure.
Start with what you're going to make more.
With the amount,
Therefore, the
same
sales
amount of
would have
people.
went up. Same amount of people.
And can we say, I know this is taboo to say this, but it was more of a rock concert and more consumption of beer is done at a rock concert as opposed to an Alan Jackson concert. Can we say that?
Same amount.
Same amount was
I'll
sold
tell you
regardless.
why.
Okay, so
This
we
is
don't
why.
need, okay, go ahead.
These are the figures. Okay,
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
$60,000 in sales.
Right.
All right, at $5 a piece. That's 12,000 beers.
Okay.
And there were 6,600 people there.
Right.
Each person drank 2 beers
On that, yeah.
for an average. Now, if you cut that down and you say only 2/3 of the people are drinking,
Right.
the average person only drank 3 beers for a 3.5-hour show.
At both places, essentially.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
the difference in
The figure-
price, and
the
that's
difference
what
in
adds
price
up.
made the huge difference. It
Right.
really did. The problem with Tragically Hip,
Right.
and I made that point very clear today, the city charged for parking in the parking lot $1, which they never should have.
And they've
And
never
they're
done
going to
that.
eliminate.
They
Oh,
never
they've
did
done that before.
Okay, they
for
have.
the bigger concerts.
Gotcha.
They charged $1, but then did not police their parking area.
Right, right.
People were all tailgating, which they're not supposed to do.
Okay.
Had they allowed, say, DPAO charge for parking,
Right,
and then they would have had to police it and clean it.
right,
All right? Those people were out there from 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock until 5:30, 6 o'clock.
right.
They come charging into the gate, 6,000 people.
Right.
The first thing they've got to do is go to the bathroom.
Sure.
You got 12 porta potties plus the regular bathrooms.
Right,
Not enough room for everybody. Became the issue of public urination.
right, right.
Poor design on that.
Right.
But those people, once inside the gate, there were 0 arrests for Tragically Hip.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, if I'm not wrong, there were 11 arrests for Alan Jackson.
Interesting. Yeah,
So,
okay.
Big difference.
So, I mean, we're going to have callers. We have somebody waiting right now, and we've lost several because I guess there's a lot of people trying to call in at the same time. And why not? And by the way, Joe, I even told Joe Staley we'd have to postpone today's call.
Well, I feel honored.
Well, that's the way it is, Paul. And again, I wanted to set things straight because our Councilman Jeff Smith actually, corrected me on a couple of things just this past Friday. So I said, you know what? In addition to that, I'm just going to let Paul speak about everything. But let me ask you this. Having said everything you've done so far, and we'll continue this conversation right to the end, is it a surprise to you that all this has happened in the last 30 days with what's been going on from City Hall and responses from the mayor and the community for that matter, and quite frankly, your comments as well?
Here's my view.
Yeah.
All right, and it's my view only,
right.
Not anyone else. I think what happened is with Parks and Recreation and all the issues.
Right.
I really think that the city council and the city government has egg on their face.
Right.
And they're having a rough time figuring out how to wipe it off.
Right.
Look, step up and say, look, we made a major mistake. And that's what they're trying to do with redirecting Parks and Rec, which is a great way to do it. Don't put the blame on any of the businesses that have done business with them.
Right.
Don't put the blame out here because we didn't get invoiced.
Right.
Don't be yelling at everyone else, and don't try to chastise other businesses.
Right.
We are just one of many.
Right.
I mean, we're just one of many, many.
Right.
I know organizations that have said they will not hold an event there because they weren't billed for the last 3 years. Now they realize they owe them $3,000. They're going elsewhere.
Right.
That's going to happen. But I really believe there's some egg on the face.
Right.
And they're getting better at getting this figured out how to wipe it off.
Sure.
They listen to other organizations to help, obviously, negotiate a contract even with me.
Right.
Joe Rich's comments came into play in that.
Right. Did that surprise you?
That surprised me.
Okay.
Quite a bit. But it's been growing for a while. It's an election year. You got to look strong. You got to look powerful.
Right.
Whatever they want to do as an election year is fine with me.
Now, why would Joe Rich be happy with $2,000 on one concert?
That's a very good question.
And then all of a sudden ask, hey, I'm not getting my fair share. And again, I'm putting words in his mouth, but I believe that's why the issue came up. Why would 1 year's $2,000, which sounds very minimal, by the way?
It was very, very low, but they had done very well on ticket sales, and I had no idea.
Sometimes they have, sometimes they have. You got to get it in every direction.
There's money to be made in these concerts in the direction. What you need to do is to watch out for every little item that you can possibly make money on.
Sure.
Including sale of ice.
Right.
Ice can become a big item. When guys are looking for ice to keep things cool.
Right.
You grab them a couple of bucks for a bag.
Right.
It's worth it, but that was just Joe. He had so many other things going on, and he was dealing with the fair and other issues. He just said, "That's all I want."
It's strange because $300,000-$400,000 for one band. Sales rather $1 or $2 at the parking lot, that adds up, and certainly $4, $5, $6 or $7 if you have to adds up. You can control the amount of alcohol, and you can make more per cup. That just sounds crazy.
Yep.
But the difference between 2000 and the next year is a little odd to me.
And I got an inconsistent call. You want me to call in?